Hi, oops. Hi, everyone. I am Lori from Kid Made Modern. We're so excited to be here with Michaels today and our friend Tessa from Studio Jane. If you've been with one of our classes before, you know Tessa's always with us and she's an amazing crafter and really excited to craft with you all today, a fun fall activity. Just a heads up, I will be moderating the class. So if you have questions, I know we've gotten a few already, which are great. In the Q&A, go ahead and type them in and I'll ask Tessa or be able to answer you guys throughout the class as well. All right, Tessa, go ahead, take it away, and then I'll get to the questions as you're going through some stuff.
Perfect. All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Yes, as Nate and Lori said, we are going to be making this adorable fall wreath. It is fall, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm very excited for the whole holiday season this year. So this is a fun little craft that you can make in a ton of different sizes. We're making a pretty small one today. It's only about 6 inches or so. So it's a pretty small little wreath that's great to hang on a door, a doorknob, just a little wall art, or you can even just set it down on a tabletop if you want. It can be a flat wreath. So there's a lot you can do with these cuties. Or you can make them bigger or smaller. Just going to use more materials to make a bigger one for your front door as well. But yeah, so I'm excited to craft with you guys today. So we're going to go through our craft materials list first, and then we'll get started. So the first thing you're going to need is a sheet of construction paper. You can also use a paper plate or cardboard. I'm just using a sheet of red construction paper. And this is going to be used to make the ring for all of our little fall leaves to be glued on. So as you see on the back of my wreath here, there's a little paper ring. That's what we're going to be using paper for. And then I'm using 2 different size bowls to make my circle. So I have a metal bowl here and a smaller little white bowl. These are just grabbed from my kitchen. If you don't have any bowls handy, maybe ask a parent or guardian with you to grab a couple of circles. You can also draw your own as well. So if you don't have bowls or you're not sure what to grab, you can always draw your own circles. And just freehand draw them. They might be a little bit more of an oval or not exactly perfect, but we're going to cover that up anyways with all of our leaves, so you won't even really notice your circle on the back. Okay, so to trace our bowls or to draw our circles, we're going to be using a marker or a pencil. I'm using a black marker just so you guys can see it, but you can just use a crayon or a pencil as well. We're going to be using a pair of scissors. I'm using my personal favorite, bigger scissors, but any of your Kid Made Modern scissors, if you have them in your arts and crafts library, that will work as well to cut your paper as well as the felt. Speaking of which, we're going to be using felt today to make all these little leaves. So I have all sorts of little felt strips that are from the Kid Made Modern arts and crafts library. I also grabbed a couple extra fall colors that are really pretty. These are from Michaels. To just add in here to give a little bit of different color and texture. So you can also use paper if you want, or fabric. So if you don't have felt today, then you can just use colorful paper instead, or even just use paper plates or printer paper, and you can color all of your leaves different colors as well. So if you don't have felt, don't worry, you can definitely still make this craft. And then lastly, we're going to be using some little beads here. I pulled out some fun fall colors from the Kid Made Modern Arts and Crafts library. And those are going to be kind of like little berries you can see here on our leaf garland. Those are totally optional. If you don't have beads, you don't have to add them. Or you can also add pom-poms or sequins or little paper cutouts instead. So you can get creative to decorate this even more if you want. And then to put everything together, you have a couple options. So you can definitely use a hot glue gun if you are crafting with an adult today. Hot glue guns are hot, so definitely make sure that that's something that you're crafting with an adult. Or you can use glue dots, and I have a whole roll of glue dots here. I'll show you guys how to use both of those different options today. And then if you want to hang your wreath afterward, I just have a little bit of some yellow embroidery floss here. This is also from the Kid Made Modern Arts and Crafts library. And we'll just stick that on with a little bit of regular tape on the back. Again, this is optional. If you don't have thread or yarn handy at the moment, you can always attach this later. Or maybe you just want your wreath to sit and you don't want to hang it at all, then you don't need to attach this at all. Okay, so I know we went through all those materials really quickly. I know they're in the Q&A as well. So if you aren't sure or you have a question, let us know or go through that list there. And we're going to get started.
So really quick, can you show the back of the wreath one more time? A couple people.
Yeah. Okay. So here you can see, here's the front of the wreath. And then on the back, it's just like a 1-inch little circle ring, basically. So we're going to do the step first. I'll go through all those steps of how to do this. But basically it's just a little paper ring. So you can definitely use a paper plate or cardboard or any sort of paper.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So for our first step, we are going to make that paper ring for the back of our wreath. And to do that, we're going to take our construction paper here. And we have 2 different size bowls. So I'm going to start with my larger bowl first. I'm going to flip the bowl over so it's upside down. And then I'm going to take my marker and trace along the outside edge. Again, you can definitely draw your own circle if you want. Instead, that works too, or you can use all sorts of different things that are round. You can look around the house and find something to trace if you don't have a bowl right next to you. And then we're going to take the second little bowl that's a smaller size, and we're going to put that right in the middle. So you can see now, as we trace this one, we're going to make a 1-inch ring of paper. And this is going to be able to glue all of our leaves to, while also giving a little bit of support on the back of our wreath. You can see there, we've got 2 circles. So we've got our larger one that we traced here. And then I just centered my smaller bowl in the middle of that larger circle and trace that as well. So next we're going to cut out this paper ring. And I'm just cutting along the edge. If you made a mistake or your marker is showing, don't worry at all. We're going to cover this whole thing so you won't even see it once your wreath is hanging. So just take your time and cut out the whole outer circle first. Okay, so now we've got 1 circle all cut out. You can still see the outline for our smaller circle in the middle. And now you have a couple options. If you want, you can definitely cut right through this edge here and cut the interior line out and then tape it back together. Or if you feel confident with scissors or you're crafting with an adult today, another option is to take one edge of your scissor while your paper is flat on the table and pulling up onto the scissor to make a little hole in the middle. So I'll show you that again. So my paper is flat on the ground. My hand is not underneath my scissors. And I just kind of push one edge of my scissor in and then just pull up against it. By making sure that your paper is flat on your table, it means that your scissors cannot go into your hand as you pull up your paper. And that just gives you a little hole you can put your scissors in, and then you can cut this inner circle out. Again, you can definitely just cut through your outer circle and then cut along the line and then tape it back together as well. That's a really easy way to do it also. And you can just use regular, any tape will work. So you don't need to use hot glue or anything special to glue it back together.
Hi everyone, just so you know, we were asked to slow down, but just, this is being recorded too. So if you get behind it all, this will be recorded and posted to the Michaels website in 24 to 72 hours. So you can check it out there as well.
Absolutely, yes. And we're going to go through a lot of the steps when it comes to making all of these leaves. It's a lot of repetition. So we're going to be cutting out the same shape over and over again. So definitely you guys will see all those steps a lot. For this one here, again, just go ahead and trace 2 different size circles, and then you can start cutting that whole thing out. Okay, so once you have your little paper ring here all ready to go. Next, we're going to start cutting out felt leaves. So this I'm just going to kind of set aside. Once we have all of our leaves cut out, then we'll start attaching them to our paper ring. So we don't need it at the moment. So I've got all these different colors of felt that are from the Kid Made Modern Arts and Crafts Library. And then again, I have a couple other colors just to add in some different shades of fall into our wreath. These colors are from Michaels as well. So you can use any colors you want. Maybe you want to make yours a rainbow wreath or all black and white. You can do any color story that you want. And to make these, what we're going to do, you can either use a marker to draw little shapes like leaves. I'll draw this a couple times so you can see. Kind of looks like an eye. It has a little pointed top here. It gets wider in the middle and then pointed at the end again. Show you this again. So I'm going to start at the bottom, kind of curve out and then curve back in. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Curve out and then curve back in to meet and make a little point. So that's really the shape of the little leaves we're using today. You can definitely make different size or different shape leaves if you want. You can even just do little circles or triangles or rectangles if you want. And those would be really fun, and a funky looking fall wreath as well. So that would be really fun. Or you can also just freehand cut them. As I'm doing here. And there we've got a little leaf. So we're going to cut out a ton of these little leaves in all different colors. So if you are figuring out how to draw them still, take your time. It's going to take a little while to cut out all these leaves. And if you are like me here and you want to draw them all out, and you might have some little marker lines there, what you can do is easily flip over your little leaf. And that's how we'll glue it onto our ring so you won't see any of those marker lines. And to make a wreath this size, depending on how much you overlap your leaves, probably going to need about 40 or so little leaves. So that's where we're going to cut out a whole bunch of these to cover the whole thing. And I'm going to draw a couple and just freehand cut a couple to give you guys different options. So again, as I'm cutting, just slowly curving. And you can come back around and clean up any little edges if you need to. And to make this little leaf shape. And you should be able to get 3 to 4 different little leaves out of a little strip here, the ones from the Kid Made Modern library. If you make yours a little bit bigger, then you might only be able to get a couple out, but
someone, Tessa, Gio had a really good recommendation. It's kind of like a football shape, which I was just telling Nate when we got on the call that this is like football weather out here in Chicago. So that totally makes sense.
Yes, that's a great idea. Good call. Definitely looks like a little football. Perfect for the season. Okay, so again, we're going to cut out as many as you want. If you make really big leaves, then you won't need as many. So you can definitely make larger ones if you want to. And we're going to cut out quite a few. We can always go back and cut out more once we start gluing them on and we feel like, oh no, we do need more, or we want more of a certain color. Then you can always go back and cut out a few more. And you can also draw one that you really like, and then you can use that as a little template if you wanted to. So for instance, say you get one good leaf and you want to use this to trace. So you could then take that little leaf, let me put on different colors so you can see it a little better. You could take a leaf that you like, you cut it out of paper or felt, and then you can put it right on top of another sheet and trace it. That will help make them all really, really similar in size and shape. But if you look at a tree or leaves on the ground, they're never all the same exact size or the same exact shape. Some of them are a little bit pointier or a little bit longer. So yours can look like that too. So even like this little edge here is a little bit tight for one of these size to fit in there, but I think I'll just freehand cut another little one out here to use all of our scraps. So that one's a little bit skinnier, but that's okay. And now
Zara actually had a good recommendation as well. She says that they usually do is draw a leaf, then fold the felt paper in half, then cut it out. So I'm cutting out 2 leaves at once. Very good idea.
So smart. That is a really good idea. Yeah, so you can cut out multiples all together. I love that trick. That helps save some time and your hands, especially if you're cutting out a lot of little things like we are today. Sometimes your hand can get a little tired after a while. So I can show you guys that method as well here of folding it in half. So say on here, cut out some of these brown leaves too. I'm going to draw a couple little leaves. So I've got 2 leaves here, and then I can just fold my felt in half and cut 2 at the same time. Great reminder to do that. What a good idea. And then I've got 2. And again, you might be using bigger pieces of felt or fabric or paper, but you can do the exact same thing with any of those materials, which is great. Okay, I'm going to cut out some more here. Again, show this again, just a freehand cut without drawing any. Folded my little felt strip in half.
Tessa, I know that we're cutting still, but a quick question on gluing before we get started. If people are using paper, could they use hot glue with paper, or is it best to use glue dots or like regular liquid glue?
You can definitely use hot glue with paper as well. Sometimes it will leave a little bit of a bump underneath the paper, so I wouldn't use a ton. But if you're using paper, then you can definitely use just like regular white craft glue or tacky glue as well. Glue dots will work. Yeah, when you're using paper, you can really use almost any type of glue or adhesive that you want. You could even take just regular tape like this, and you could fold it back on itself to make a little piece of double-sided tape. You make a little ribbon like this. You can do that as well. So you can use all sorts of glue or tape that you might have around the house. When you're using felt or fabric, regular craft glue does not stick very well, or it takes a really long time to dry. So usually that's where we use hot glue or glue dots for fabric or felt. Okay, see, let's cut out a couple more orange ones, and then we can cut out some green as well.
Someone just mentioned you could paint the cardboard circle a different color if you want, and that's absolutely true. Any sort of color you want the background is totally good. I think, Tessa, you just chose yours as kind of a fall color, correct?
I did, yeah. I just picked sort of this reddish burgundy color that if it shows, then it's fine. And it kind of coordinates with everything. But if you are using a different color, then you definitely color it or paint it. Or you are probably going to hang this and you won't see it anyways. But if you want to hang it maybe in the window, then you might see the back of it. So then, yeah, I would just pick a color or paint it to coordinate. That's a great idea. Okay, now I'm going to do some green here. So I folded my felt in half, and we'll draw a couple little leaves Again, I'm kind of going back and forth between drawing them and just freehand cutting them, just so you guys can see a couple different style options or techniques to get the same little cutouts. Now we've got all these little leaves drawn on here. And with my fabric still folded in half, I can cut 2 at a time out. And you guys can, again, make as many as you want. If you want to start gluing as you cut, you can definitely do that. We're going to cut out the majority of ours first and then start gluing them on. But if you are ahead of us, by all means, go ahead and start gluing them. And yeah, we picked a pretty fall specific color scheme today with lots of oranges and reds and yellows, a little touch of green and brown. But you can make any color that you want. So if you are making, maybe your wreath isn't for fall and you're making yours for something else, tell us what you are using or what colors you're using. Give us some ideas of how else we could use these wreaths when fall is over, maybe.
Someone just asked, Nancy asked, what color of hot glue do you recommend? Hot glue is usually just always clear, correct?
Usually, yeah, you can find some colorful hot glue options, but I'm just going to use clear. So here's a little hot glue stick here. You can use just clear. Some of them come a little bit more of a cloudy look, but they both dry clear. So you can use either one. You won't notice them once they're all of our leaves are going to overlap, so you won't see any of the glue.
Great. And Gio is using green and purple for his.
Ooh. Purple's a great one. That's a really good idea to add in. I think all those like pretty jewel tones are always so fun for fall. Great. Okay, so I drew some more little leaves here. And then sometimes also if you are having trouble cutting layers of felt or you just want to cut one at a time, then sometimes I'll cut a little piece away from the rest of it so that I don't have all that extra fabric hanging off that gets in the way of your scissors. Okay, so as you can see, our pile of fall leaves is growing. And I think after this leaf, we can start gluing. Again, we can always go back and cut out more if we need more. Okay. So I'm going to set all this bit of scraps and extra felt just to the side for now. And we can always pull more out if we come to an end of everything we've cut out and feel like we need more. Okay, so now I'm kind of keeping all of mine in little colorful stacks all together here. And then we've got our little ring. And what we can do is we're just going to start gluing them on. So again, you can use glue dots or hot glue. I will show you guys, I'll start here with some glue dots to make sure that everyone, if you're not crafting with an adult today, then you can jump right in with us. I'm going to take one of my little felt leaves here and right toward the bottom corner of one leaf, I'm going to press it against the glue dot. And then you can kind of see there's that little shiny circle on the end there. And that's the glue dot. and then I'm going to paste it or press it right onto my ring. So I put it in sort of at a little bit of an angle. So that way we can take our next one and it will overlap at the other direction. And we'll start doing this all the way around, creating little V shapes with our leaves so that we get this fun sort of blooming leaf look. So again, I'm going to take my felt leaf, press a little glue dot right into one side of it. Sometimes my little glue dot, you can see kind of wrinkled up there, and that's fine. And then we're just gonna press it right there. So you can see my two little leaves are overlapping a bit. And one's going one direction, the other's going the other way. And then we're just gonna keep going all the way around. We'll do a couple more here with glue dots, and then I'll show a couple with hot glue. That way, depending on what you guys are using at home. So now this one, I'm just gonna press kind of right in to the little V shape that I made with the other ones.
So Ella had or actually Brittany had an awesome idea about using real leaves. I actually just did a fun wall art craft using real leaves this week, and that's a great way to make this wreath as well.
I agree. I love using any sort of natural element. So definitely you can go and collect some leaves and make the same craft over and over again with different little leaves that you find. You can even incorporate some little twigs or little bark would be really cute to add some decoration to it. I think that's a great idea. Again, I'm just putting that little bit of glue dot right on one corner.
And Ella is asking if they don't have social media, can they email a picture to anyone? If you don't have social media, Nate, do you happen to have a Michael's email that they could send a picture to?
Not offhand, but let me see if I can dig something up.
Yeah, I definitely have a Kid Made Modern one. If not, and I could pass it on to the Michael's folks as well. So we'll let you know, Ella.
Yeah, that's a great question. We always want to see what you guys make. It's so exciting to see what materials you use or how you were inspired to make something different. Okay, so you can see we're starting to build up our little leaf shapes here. I'm going to show you guys a couple with a hot glue gun as well. Again, hot glue is hot. It lives up to its name. So if you are crafting with an adult, then this is a great option as well. So I just put a little dot of hot glue in one corner and then going to press it right onto my paper.
Tessa, can you, Lori is asking, very good name. My name's Lori as well. Lori is asking what a glue dot is. Can you show again really quickly of glue dots? Glue dots are one of my favorite craft materials.
Yes, glue dots are great. They're mess-free. They work on all sorts of materials. So this is a whole roll of glue dots. And these you can buy a whole little roll or box at Michael's. Some of our Kid Made Modern kits come with little sheets of glue dots as well, which is great. So basically as you unroll, it's kind of hard to show because they are clear, but there are little tiny dots or circles here. You can kind of barely see a little shine there, but I'll put one on the back of a leaf here. And they are just kind of sticky. So if I press my finger to it, you can see it's holding on now. And if I take my little leaf and press it directly onto a little dot and pull it off. Now you can see that little shiny circle here on the end is a little glue dot. So it's basically a mess-free piece of glue, if you will. It sort of is like a mixture of glue and double-sided tape. So it's sticky, but it is sticky on both sides, which is really great. And it is clear. So it's really easy to use on tons of different materials because you really can't see it once it's all attached. And it sticks to fabric or wood or paper. So they're
And I would actually say, Lori, this is, I like she's saying fabric. Anytime you're using pom-poms,
Yes.
glue dots are like amazing and they're super quick compared to liquid glue.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for them to dry. So it's a great option if you're doing a quick craft that they are ready to go right away. So they're a great option to have in your craft supplies.
And Johnson says they are triple cutting my felt. You must have a really good pair of scissors if you're able to triple cut your felt.
Yes, you do. That's great. Okay. And I'm just kind of picking back and forth between different colors. Whoop. And then just overlapping all my little leaves as I go. So I'm not doing any particular pattern. You definitely can if you want to, but I think it's kind of fun to just have them all be a little bit different. So you don't have to stress about them being in any order or keeping them in any order. And again, I'm kind of switching back and forth between hot glue and glue dots, just so you guys can see all the different options. You can either put a little dot of hot glue in a corner of your leaf, flip it over and press it right on top. Or you can also put a little dot of glue on your paper ring itself and then press your little leaf into the paper.
Sophie's asking if they can use liquid glue. Absolutely. It just takes a little bit longer to dry for felt, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can definitely use liquid glue. It will take quite a while to dry. So once you press your leaf down onto your ring, I would leave it for quite a while for it to fully dry. What happens with felt or pom-poms or fabric is that it's absorbent. So it's basically, it sucks up anything liquid. So with the liquid glue, it has to absorb it and then takes longer to dry.
And then Brittany is asking, what do you do with the felt pulls?
With the felt what?
She says, what do you do if the felt pulls? I'm not sure exactly what that means. Yeah.
Are you having trouble like that if you maybe are trying to pull a piece off? Because felt does kind of stretch. If it stretches at all, you might just want to make sure that you're cutting all of your edges before you try to separate it. That might be what you're meaning. So sometimes if you cut a little piece here, but it's not quite all the way cut and you try to pull it, then it might start to make it look a little funky and make its shape move. So just make sure you cut all of your edges and corners before you try to separate your shapes. If that's not what you mean, then let us know.
And Johnson wanted to correct, he's not triple cutting. They're meaning they're having trouble cutting the felt. Totally.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
That makes a little bit more sense. If you're having trouble, I would say sometimes felt is a little bit tough to cut. Sometimes you need a sharper pair of scissors if you possibly have. I know sometimes kid scissors aren't as sharp as adult scissors. So if you have a grown up with you, that's helpful as well.
For sure. Yeah. Sometimes it just takes a minute to get used to the felt. And so just take your time. If you feel like you're behind because we're moving ahead and gluing here, don't worry. You have time to catch up. As you can see, it's all very repetitive once we get going here. So you don't have to worry that you aren't going to be able to finish. Even if you don't finish it directly in this next little bit that we have together, you can just keep gluing it even after we get off Zoom here and you'll catch up.
And Sarah's having trouble drawing the leaves. I really love the idea of a football shape. So if you kind of just do like an oval shape with pointy edges, that's super helpful, but just try again. Nothing is going to be, nothing is the correct way. It's all about your art, right?
Absolutely. Yes. You cannot make a wrong shaped leaf. If you look outside, every leaf on every different type of tree is totally different. So if yours are more rounded or more square, or every single one is different, then that's great. Maybe your wreath is made of all sorts of different types of leaves instead of all the same like ours, but you can't go wrong. So just keep going and don't feel like you are messing up. I'm sure that it looks fantastic. So again, as I'm just continuing to go around, kind of overlapping my leaves as I go.
And Nancy is using poster board paper for her ring.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's nice. It will definitely be a little bit sturdier, so that can be really helpful if you want yours to be a little bit more stable. If you're using a thinner paper, it might not be quite as thick, but it should still hang, especially if you hang it against the wall, then that will give it a little bit of support too.
I would also suggest cardboard. I personally use a lot of projects with leftover boxes that I have from, you know, all my online shopping. So that would be a great idea to use for a background as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, cardboard, a paper plate, yeah, any sort of little remnant that you might have will work. Especially when you're making a smaller craft like this, as you can see, the little ring is not very big. The one I'm making and cut out is only about 6 or 7 inches in diameter or wide here. So you really don't have to have a huge piece to make a wreath. You can definitely make it bigger or smaller. You can make a really little mini one if you want as well. So if you don't have a ton of extra, but you still want to craft, then just make a really tiny one. You won't need as many supplies, and you can just make an adorable little like 3-inch wreath. Maybe yours is really tiny, but that would be really cute. Be a great little gift or ornament. You could put it on top of a present or as a nameplate on someone's table.
A few more questions. Rachel is saying, can you use felt on wood?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with felt on wood, I would probably try to use hot glue. That's probably going to be your best bet. But you could use glue dots as well. But if you're crafting with an adult, then hot glue is probably going to be the easiest option.
Great. And let's see. Somebody said, how do you change the glue on the glue gun? Can you show on your glue gun and definitely, again, have a grown up with you if you're going to do this.
Yes, so my glue gun, you can see here, this is just a little mini one that I got at Michael's. And so the glue comes out the front here, the little pointy part. So that's hot, so you don't want to touch that. But if you're replacing your glue, I don't need to quite yet, but on the back here, there is a little hole that the glue goes in. So once you are out of glue, or once you don't see any more of this glue stick, you can see that sticking out of the glue gun, then that's when it's time to replace it. So once this goes all the way in and you don't have any more of this little glue stick hanging out, then that's when you go ahead and put a new one in. And you're just going to put it right inside that same little hole, and it's going to stick out the back like this will.
And Zara's saying, do you have to use an adult, because she uses hot glue gun projects by herself? There are, if you are old enough and you are super safe and your grown up thinks it's totally okay, that's all up to your own family. We just recommend always, if you're a kid, to make sure that you have an adult around you, just to be careful and make sure you know how to use it.
Absolutely, yes. I agree. I've been using a hot glue gun for a long time. It's one of my favorite tools, but they can definitely burn you. So we just want to make sure that it's either okay, that your parent or guardian has said that you're allowed to use it, or you're crafting with them, just in case, you know. Besides, it's fun to craft together. So grab someone else to craft with, and then you guys can both make a wreath together. And can have a little fun as a family too.
And
okay.
Someone's asking, and I'm not even sure what this word actually means. I should probably Google it. It says, can we use thermocol? So THERMOCOL. Do you know what that is, Tessa?
I don't think I do.
Maybe I'll Google it real quick and then we'll go.
I'm thinking it's a type of glue, but yeah. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, it's foam, actually. It's styrofoam.
Oh, You can use styrofoam for sure, but styrofoam and hot glue are not friends. Hot glue will melt styrofoam. So that's the only thing to keep note of, that usually it's hard to use hot glue on styrofoam. So I would use glue dots or another sort of glue or tape instead.
Yeah, but thank you very much for teaching us a new word today. That's great.
Okay, so I went ahead and I cut out a couple more little leaves here. I was running out. Maybe you are too, and if you are, then just take a moment and cut out a couple more, and then you can go back to gluing as I am. And as you can see, I'm just continuing to overlap them as I go.
Hey, Ella, if you would like to email, why don't you just go ahead and email customer.service@kidmademodern.com. I'll type that in the answer as well. And I can pass it on to Michael's folks if you have a picture of your craft that you want to show us.
Oh, perfect. Yes, I would love to see that too. Okay, so you can see we are starting to near the end. Our wreath is almost complete with leaves. And as you get to the end here, I can show you, it might be a little bit tricky to fully cover all your ring. So what you can do is lift up any little leaves as they start to meet here. So I'm just going to lift up and kind of bend back a leaf and then add a little bit of glue and then be able to put a leaf kind of underneath. And then I'll do the same on this side here. Lift these up. And then you can see we've just covered our entire ring. So once you cut all your pieces out, it's just gluing over and over and over again. So if you feel like you're still cutting and you're behind, do not stress. You know how to glue them all on now. You're just going to overlap them in the same pattern all the way around until your ring is totally covered. If you use any hot glue today, then you always want to make sure you go back around and remove any little bits of hot glue strings. It is a little secret that elevates your project by a lot. You look like a pro if you get rid of all of those little glue strings. So now we've covered the whole thing. You can see on the back here, we've got our paper ring and all of our little leaves here. Again, you can definitely cover the back or paint the back if you want to. You can add more felt leaves to hide that ring if you want. But if you're just going to hang it against the wall, then you won't see any of that anyways. And if you use a color or paint your paper a color that matches, then it can show. Okay, so now technically your wreath is done. From here, you can add as many different little details and fun elements as you want. We're going to add a few little beads to kind of resemble little berries that I think are cute. So again, you can use hot glue or glue dots for this. You can use white glue as well. Again, it's going to be sticking the beads onto the felt, so it will take a little longer to dry, but you can definitely do that. So I'm just going to take a little bead here. I have a little selection of different colors that all kind of fall, a little red, orange, yellow, green, and I added in some little fun magenta pink. And then I'm just going to stick it straight on. So I put a little glue dot on my bead and then just stuck it directly onto the felt. And then I'm just going to add kind of a little cluster of them. So I'm going to put like 3 to 4 different beads all together, kind of touching to look like a little berry cluster. You can see I just stuck another glue dot on that yellow bead and just stuck it directly next to it. I'm using different sizes just to give a little variety, but you can use any size you want. You can also use plain wooden beads or buttons, sequins or pom-poms, anything of the sort. So you can see that little shiny goop on the back there is a little glue dot. And then I'm just gonna stick it right next to the other ones. And there's a little berry cluster. We're just gonna do a couple more of those around the edges here. You can also do it with hot glue. So if you are using a hot glue gun today, then I just put a little dot of hot glue onto my felt itself, and then take my little bead and press it right into the hot glue. Especially when you're using smaller pieces like these little beads, it's usually easier to put hot glue onto your surface than onto the small object, because that's going to be really close to hold this next to the hot tip of the glue gun. But this way I can just kind of set it right on top of that glue and keeps my fingers from getting any glue on them. And again, this step is totally optional. If you don't want to add little berry beads or you want to add a different thing, that is great as well. But I think it gives your wreath a little bit of dimension and some extra color, texture.
Gio's asking, are those berries? And actually, no, they're wood beads, but they look like berries from here for sure.
Yeah, they are just little wooden beads. You can see here's the little center. All these are just little pre-painted wooden beads from the Kids Made Modern Arts and Crafts library. So you can use real berries if you want, or again, this is something you can add a little natural element. You can do little pieces of a twig, or you can find little pebbles and paint them if you want to. So you can really do lots of different little things to make a similar look. And when I'm gluing my beads on, I'm kind of gluing them down flat where the holes of the beads are on the sides rather than at the top. So that kind of helps them look more solid. So if I turn this to the edge, you can kind of see there's the little holes of the beads, rather than gluing them upright like this, which you could too, and that looks cute as well. Or you can do a mixture, totally up to you. Okay, I'm gonna do one more little bead cluster over here. Let's see, maybe another red one. Okay, so you can see I kind of have all different ones. These couple of these just have 2 or 3, 4. So you can kind of mix and match different amounts all together. And look how sweet that is. Got some fun little texture and fall colors. And then lastly, we're going to add a little hanger. So I'm just going to flip this over. Again, if you are using craft glue, then your felt probably is not dry. Your berries are not dry. So I would watch this step and flip over your wreath after your wreath is fully dried. Because if you flip it over now, some of your little elements might fall off. But if you're using glue dots or hot glue, it should be safe to go ahead and flip it over. And then we're just going to use a little piece of embroidery thread here. So I'm going to cut a little strip about a foot or so long. You can also use other thread or yarn, anything like that will work. I'm going to fold my little piece of yarn in half. So I've got it folded on one side and then I got both of my little ends together on one end. And then on this side, I'm going to tie a knot. So tie a knot, I'm just going to overlap my pieces of yarn, creating a little loop, and then take these little free ends, a little tail, go underneath and pull it through the loop. So it should look kind of like a little pretzel, and then pull it tight. And that makes a little knot. And what's great about this then is this will be an easy way to hang it. So now that we've got a little knot at the top and a little loop on the bottom, we're just going to take a piece of tape and tape this directly on the back onto our paper. And now we've created a little loop at the top that's going to be really easy to hang your wreath. And there you have a little fall festive wreath. Again, yours might look a little different shapes or different colors, but I'm sure it looks absolutely adorable. And I had so much fun making this fall activity with you guys. Let me flip this camera around here so we can show you just what it looks like hanging. So you can see here's our little example. Here's the one we made today. This one I included more brown in it than the original. And they're all going to look a little different, but it's very fun. You can hang these in a window, your door, your bedroom, anywhere around the house, or maybe you want to make one for every room to decorate throughout the whole house. And we will be back in a couple of weeks on October 5th. We will be back to craft some fun Halloween crafts with you guys. We are going to be making these adorable little tassel ghosts. So we're going to learn how to make tassels and attach little pom-poms and fun little eyes. So these will be fun to decorate and play with all Halloween season. So thanks so much for joining us and happy fall.